Hello, Scoop Troop. Welcome back to another episode of The Sober Scoop. This is India Gantz. I am your host, and today we're going to be talking about revisiting old places that remind you of a traumatic situation, whether that be your drinking or something else. But going back and revisiting those things can be so sensitive and emotional. And I experienced that this weekend. I was in LA for a wedding, which was wonderful. Literally, the wedding was perfection. Everyone at the wedding, wonderful. Loved every bit of that. I also saw one old friend. That was wonderful. Every moment outside of those two events, though, was so triggering for me. This is the first moment I'm even close to comfortable talking about it because I've been so emotional since that trip. I got back on Sunday. Today's Tuesday. Okay. So I only, needed a couple days to feel like I could talk about this without literally breaking down. But it was really, really hard for me. And so I'm going to just tell you guys what that was like today and hopefully provide some insight into how you can deal with this type of situation if you are ever put in this type of situation where you have to go back and visit this place that reminds you of everything bad that's happened in your life, basically. I've processed it. I've talked to my family and some friends about it and just I think I've gained at least a couple positive insights from this experience, things to take away. I like to try to turn things into a positive if I can, or a growing experience. I always talk about how cravings and temptations in sobriety are really positives because they help build your toolbox for dealing with different situations in life as they come to you in sobriety. And this, I hope, I'll be able to look at as another situation that's an added skill to my toolbox, if that makes sense. So let's jump right in, shall we? Welcome to the Sober Scoop. This is a judgment-free zone where we talk about how to get sober and stay sober. You're not alone. I hope you feel seen. Quitting alcohol is the best decision I've ever made. So, Los Angeles, the city of dreams. Oh my God. I felt a wave of panic, flying into the airport. I didn't even want to look out the window because I didn't want to see it and be reminded. How crazy. And the moment it really set in was once I got out of the airport and I was standing there in the pickup area waiting for the shuttle to go to my rental car. And it just everything just started rushing back. And then the drive in the shuttle, and I'm looking out the window, and it's just, here we are again. This place that caused me so much heartache and trauma, really. Here I am again, facing it. And I just was not prepared for the wave of emotion that would hit me this trip. I kind of thought that now that I'm sober, now that I'm out of my bad relationship, now that I have a healthier relationship with my body, with the modeling industry, I thought now that I was past all of that this would actually be maybe a healing experience. No, that was not the case for me. And this just proved to me that I still have issues, and I may forever have issues. And I don't know if you want to call it PTSD. I keep calling it trauma, but just this really strong association with this city and all that I went through. I don't know if I'll ever work through that. And that's kind of what I was talking about in the intro, where it's I'm trying to turn this into a positive, and I do have some positives to take from it. But yeah, being healed is not one of them. And I'm currently trying to decide if I need to get some therapy and work through whatever the heck was happening when I was in LA, or if I just never go back there. And I'm kind of leaning towards the latter because I instantly felt better when I got back to Seattle. Even when I just got to the airport at LAX and knew that I was going to be heading back, I started feeling better. So one of the positive, I will get into all the craziness, all the feelings that I had there. I'll get into all that, but just want to share like one positive that my dad said was, this is just validating your choice to get out of there. I felt it in my soul that I needed to leave that place because it was so heavy and just so much went on there. And I did leave, and I was successful, and I left and didn't look back. And he said, maybe going back and feeling all of that again is just your reminder that you made the right choice. You don't need to go back to LA. You don't need to feel tempted by like, oh, maybe work is better there. Maybe there's more opportunity. Maybe there's better people, whatever. Like, you don't need to be tempted by any of that because you went back and essentially tried it out again. And it was validating that you made the right choice to move back to Seattle and you don't ever need to go back there. So I was like, yeah. Because sometimes there's a little flicker in the back of my head, like, did I make the right decision moving to Seattle instead of LA? Like, LA is a city of dreams. It's where opportunity is. It's where the best people are, right? The most successful people, all that stuff. No, I'm good in Seattle, right here with my people, my community, my happiness, my sobriety, my everything is here. And going back and visiting LA was definitely reassurance of that. So there's one little positive takeaway, and maybe if you have experienced something similar, that heaviness with a city that reminds you of everything that you've been through, or a place, a location, a venue, whatever, a person even, maybe you can have the same takeaway that like leaving that person, place, or thing was a good decision. And just be reminded of that when you go and visit, if you ever have to go and visit, because I hope you don't, honestly. Maybe for somebody else it might be healing. For me, it was not healing. It was simply just PTSD, panic, horrific, honestly. I cried the entire time outside of that wedding and that one get-together with a friend. So, anyway, what did happen in LA that made it so difficult for me to visit? I'll tell ya. You probably kind of know by now if you've listened to the pod for a while. But a lot happened there. Let's start from the beginning. I first moved there when I was 19 years old. I moved there for a quick stint of about 6 months. And boy, oh boy, I was thrown right into the mix. Right into the industry, as they say. I got signed with a modeling agency who, of course, made me feel awful about myself and my body. And, that was typical, though. I had been with modeling agencies all around the world who also told me to lose weight and, classic. So there's that, just hating my body and hating myself at 19 years old. Classic model experience. I didn't like that modeling agency. And, I was living a life where my income relied on my physique and how good I looked. So super healthy start there. Then, thrown into the mix as far as what modeling in LA is like. I mean, hardying. I went out so much. And let me tell you why. Well, first of all, when I traveled around the world and lived in Europe and Asia and all these different places, going out was kind of how I met people, especially when there was a language barrier and stuff. It's like you go out, you party, and you just kind of feel connected to these people. And as a model, you go out with promoters. And so not only are these promoters kind of my in for meeting other girlfriends, other people who are living in the city, like doing the same thing that I am, but they are also my lifeline. This is where it gets unhealthy. If you go out with promoters as a model, usually they say you have to stay for like 2 hours at the club. And if you stay for 2 hours, then they'll also give you a free dinner. And when I was so short on money, like trying to make it as a model, I would go out with promoters essentially just to survive, get my free dinner, go out for a couple hours, and there you have it. Some girls even got their apartments paid for if they went out, like, I think it was 5 days a week or something for at least 2 hours a night. Then you get free dinners and a free promoter apartment, which is crazy. And if you're wondering what the promoters get out of this, like, they get paid per head that they bring in. And I don't know if it's like extra money or they just are on the club's good side, if it's like good looking people. But anyway, they tried really hard to get like pretty young girls into the club to go hang out at the table with Justin Bieber and Leonardo DiCaprio and also just other random rich men. That was what I did. And yes, I've met Justin Bieber. I've met Leonardo DiCaprio. Those are kind of the classics because they were club rats when I was going out in, what would that be, 2016, 2017? No, earlier. 2015, 2016. 2016, 17, whatever. Literally doesn't matter at all. But yes, those were kind of the club rats as far as celebrities go. There were others, of course, and then, of course, like just rich guys, but those are the ones you see out a lot, at least during that time period. I don't know what they're doing now, but that was then. And what was I going to say? Yes, so I'm going out with promoters, I'm partying, I'm experimenting in a lot of different ways. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but I did a lot of things. You can imagine, like partying culture, what's available to models. I'm talking with men. I'm talking with substances. All of that stuff. I'm not going to go into it because I don't know who's listening, and that's like, secrets I haven't divulged or talked about. But yeah, I dabbled in a lot of things. Nothing too hard, okay? Yeah. But anyway, I dabbled in the party scene, let's just say. Did a lot of things. And I have a lot of regret around that. Not as much the substances, more the men and choices that I made. Yeah. I would just like go out and, okay, yeah, this I will share. Basically, I was so low on money towards the end of my time in Los Angeles where like I was literally looking for coins on the ground to go buy a McChicken type of thing. Not type of thing, like I literally did that. And I'll never forget when my mom called me and we were catching up and I was like, hey, I really need to like go use my laptop. Isn't there somewhere I can go and sit with Wi-Fi? She's like, why don't you go home? I'm like, well, I moved out of my apartment and I'm living out of my car right now. So that was not good news for my mom to hear. And then she said, well, go sit at a Starbucks or something and log into their Wi-Fi. And I was like, well, I also can't afford a coffee right now. So I was hoping I could go to a library or like, where else is there free Wi-Fi? And she was like, India, oh my, you can't afford a coffee? Come home. And after that conversation is when she bought me a ticket home because she found out I was living out of my car and couldn't afford a coffee. So God bless my parents. Thank you for getting me out of there. But what I was going to say was I was so low on money and I moved out of my apartment. I was living out of my car. And what I would do is I would go out and party and I would find a place to sleep at the club. Yeah, horrible. It wasn't always with men, okay? A lot of times I would be talking to another model and I'd say, oh yeah, kind of in between apartments right now. Mind if I crash at your place? And this one girl, her name was Dunya. I'm sharing her name because she was literally such a saint. She let me crash on her couch for probably like 2 weeks. And I will forever be grateful for her. Because the alternative was I would like literally flirt with guys at the club and hope that they would let me like sleep at their apartment. Horrible. I had nowhere else to go though. Yeah. So you can imagine as I'm returning to LA and I'm driving around. This is just the first era, by the way. This is when I was 19. I stayed there until I was 28. Okay? I'm not going to take forever explaining each era, but this era was when I was 19. And yeah, so you can imagine as I'm driving around LA and I'm seeing all the clubs that I used to go out to. I'm driving by people's houses that I stayed at. I'm just reliving all of that. I'm driving by venues. I'm driving by the streets that I would just stand outside of the clubs waiting for my Ubers, like just feeling dirty and gross, or just like so many memories from that. And then I'm driving by my modeling agency, and then I'm driving by my other modeling agency. And then I'm driving by the McDonald's where I got that McChicken with the coins that I bought off the ground and was feeling like so horrible about myself and had no money to my name and was literally starving. Yeah, so there's those memories. And then, fast forward, I went and lived life. I did America's Next Top Model. I moved to New York. But then eventually work brought me back to Los Angeles around, I want to say like 21 years old. I came back and I was there from 21 to 28. And through those years, I did come back to LA with a boyfriend when I first moved there at 21, brought him out of the Seattle area and into LA. And I think he's still there, so glad he's enjoying it. Good job. But this was my first like real boyfriend, I guess. And yeah, I pulled him from Seattle, brought him to LA. And yeah, we didn't last that long in LA. Because yeah, I would meet people and I would have crushes on them. And I'm like, I'm 21. Like I shouldn't be tied down. I've been with this guy for a couple of years. Like I got to live life. Like I just won this show, like meeting all these cool people, whatever, which, I have some regrets about that too. Like I almost feel that I should apologize to him. I started dating two different guys from our friend group. How horrible. And, I use the term dating lightly, okay? Experimenting with two guys in our friend group. Horrible. I have so many regrets about that. So embarrassed. So ashamed. It was a long time ago at this point, and I've like come to peace with it. I am at peace with it, but like that was awful. I did a similar thing when I was living in Italy. Literally like was dating a guy and then actually got into a more serious thing with his best friend. Horrible. Awful. Why did I do that stuff? I was just like excited to be of interest. I moved to these cities and I was like the young, good-looking model when I was so awkward and timid growing up. Like I didn't have my first kiss till I was 18. I didn't drink really until I was out of high school. I didn't like go to any high school parties. Wasn't even invited to one. And so I get out into the world and all of a sudden these people think that I'm like pretty and are interested in me. And these people are older, essentially preying on a young girl. They're in their 30s and they're going after this 20-something-year-old girl. 21-year-old girl. Like that's a big difference. But anyway. Yeah, so I have trauma from that. Like the mistake of dating these guys in our friend group, and I'm driving around and being reminded of them and those situations and how I felt with that, and different places that we drove, went to breakfast, went out, their apartments, just all those memories, very heavy. Then later I start working at this bar, a couple of bars, And a lot went on when I was working in the bar industry. That's when I was drinking a lot on the job. It was kind of the start of my alcohol problem. I talk about that in my most recent episode before this one. Just trauma from that. When I went back to visit LA, I walked by one of the bars that I used to work at. That's the bar that I met my super toxic ex, the narcissist, the kind of emotional and verbal abusive ex. So I'm thinking of those memories. I'm thinking about how I used to go get wasted at the bar down the street, then show up for my shift. I'm thinking about walking to work. I'm thinking about how I had to downgrade my car and I got this moped scooter that barely worked. It was a Chinese bike that I couldn't even get replacement parts for because it doesn't exist in the US marketplace. But I bought it from some guy for so cheap because I needed to downgrade my car payment because I was struggling again. I'm working at this bar. I'm meeting people, a lot of money being thrown around, working at this bar. People offering me a lot of money to hang out with them the whole night. I'm not talking prostitution. I was talking about at the bar. People would basically say, only serve our table and here's $500. Just hang out with us tonight. I'm like, okay. It's just weird. People are essentially buying my company. It was so odd. And just that scene of working in the bar. And I met that toxic ex. And then let's get into the toxic ex. It's I had all the memories with him and how awful that was. I've talked about that enough, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But horrible decisions with that guy. Horrible memories of manipulation, of doing things I don't want to do, of feeling awful about myself, crying, fighting, just the heaviness from that situation weighed on me when I went back, and everything reminded me of that. I have only bad things that happened with that. And then I talk a lot about how after that breakup, I was stalked, I was harassed. And so I'm driving around the city having memories of that, of him waiting for me, essentially, being parked around the corner, thinking that he's outside the restaurant that I'm at, thinking that he's outside my apartment, thinking all these things. And I'm looking at places that we used to go together. I'm even reminded of happy memories that we had together. And I feel disgusted that I have a happy memory of that place because it's associated with him. Such a mixed bag of emotions, and I'm just feeling it all when I went back to LA. I'm driving around and I see the courthouse where the ladies in there helped me finally get a restraining order. Just so much. It was crazy being back. I mean, I cried so much. I just cried. Every moment that I was not at the wedding or with that friend, I was crying. I mean, and it got, oh gosh. I feel like I needed this, and I don't need to tell you guys this, but heck, why not? I had a screaming, crying, just pull over on the side of the road, let it all out type of moment. And maybe that was a little bit healing, where it's just I'm letting go of all of that at last. I am not here anymore. This is not me. I went through so much over those 8 years, and I got out. I don't know, it was just a release. And then I got in a healthy relationship, and that's actually who I saw. That was my friend, which it was really great to just catch up. I will always have a special place in my heart for him. He's wonderful. So that was a really positive experience. That's what I'm saying. Outside of the wedding and seeing him, it was all negative, but seeing him was really good and healthy, and it was really nice. But anyway, even when I'm driving around the city, I'm seeing memories from our relationship. And although those are good memories, our relationship still ended, and I left the city of LA after that relationship. And so I'm reminded of positive things. I'm reminded of sad things. I'm reminded of so much. That felt heavy and dramatic as well, even though it was more positive experiences. Because also through that entire relationship, I was pretty much dealing with my injury. So then it's the weight of the injury and how that just drastically changed my life. Oh, also COVID happened while I was in LA, so I'm reminded of that and what the city was like closed down and the riots and all of that heaviness. And yeah, back to the injury, it's like I got to a really bad place with drinking during my injury while I was healing from that. That's when I started drinking daily, drinking in the mornings, all that stuff, to get through that injury. And I was with that boyfriend who was wonderful through that entire time. He saw me at my absolute lowest when I was injured and had a drinking problem and just awful. So I feel guilt about that. I feel guilt that that's the way he knew me, is at my absolute worst. And he still loved me at my worst, which is kind of crazy and sad. And we talked about that in our meetup. But yeah, it was heavy. Okay. The overall message is it was heavy. And then I got sober and 2 months later broke up with him and left the city, basically, for, good reasons. Like just nothing terrible happened. Just like I needed to get out of there, and start my life happy in a city that gives me life. And anyway, that's why I moved to Seattle. So yeah, going back and visiting LA, it was so heavy and just, oh my God, I was like, I am broken. I literally was slingshotted right back to the old version of myself where I like hated myself. I felt so bad about myself. I felt weak. This is an interesting feeling. I felt the need for a man in my life. And I think that's why, as you can tell from this episode, I always had a man in my life. Whether it was serious or unserious, there was always somebody that I could text or fall back on or whatever. And I think it was because I was so broken as a human being, I needed a man in my life to like make me whole. And that's why I'm so excited for my next relationship, or whenever that may be, because I am my own full individual person. I'm happy and whole and fulfilled as a human being. And I hope that I will also meet somebody who is happy and whole and fulfilled as a human being. And two fully functioning, happy individuals come together to create an even better life as a couple. That's what I hope for. Whereas before it was like I was so broken and needy and weak that I needed somebody else to even make me feel like a whole human being because I was so broken. So, will I ever go back to Los Angeles? Likely, well, I will likely have to at some point, right? Like we got Disneyland. We got one of my good friends lives there. We got work potentially. It's always the layover to Mexico. So, I'll probably find myself there again. Will I ever plan an intentional trip to Los Angeles ever again? No. I can definitively say I will not be taking a vacation to LA. No, not for me. And I posted about this online. And I was like, just asking people, is this weird to have such a strong just distaste for an entire city because of all that I went through? And a lot of people felt the same. And I know this is not the same, and I'm not even trying to compare this, but like I watched this documentary about a kidnapping, and like going back to that location where she was held was obviously like so, I mean, you can't even imagine. It's so traumatic. I mean, horrible. And she got on her knees and she's crying. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's the same, but I'm just, I guess that experience could be healing for some people. Like I have power over this place and I'm beyond this. Or it can just be earth shattering, send you back to that horrible time, like PTSD awfulness. And that's what I felt. So the positive thing that came from this is I know I made the right decision getting out of there and restarting my life, essentially. Leaving my job, my boyfriend, my past, my apartment, my belongings. I just left everything in LA and moved back home. So yay, I'm happy with my decision. And B, it gave me the realization that I don't need to go back to LA for a visit, but then also like if I ever feel tempted with work or something, like, oh, I got a cool opportunity for this job in LA. No, not worth it. No amount of money is worth living there, again, because it's not my place. Like, no. End of story. And yeah, so if you ever have to go back to a place or a person that reminds you of the bad times that you've been through, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to do that because it's hard. But I would maybe suggest bringing somebody with you if possible. I think it was also like I was alone outside of those two events, the wedding and that hangout. And so I felt that loneliness and that emptiness. And if we're talking about drinking too, it's like, was I triggered to drink? No, because I feel like I'm far enough in my sobriety where I'm not actually like, I want to drink. But it was like all the feelings rushing back of like, this is why I used to drink. I was so low. I was at such a low point in my life, hating myself, hating my life, hating my situation, that I drank to get through that. And revisiting LA made me very aware of that. I was like, oh yeah, that's why I abused alcohol and drank literally just to get through my life, because I was feeling this way, this heaviness every day for like 8 years. Crazy. So yeah, I thought I could be stronger than that. I actually thought that going back was going to be a positive experience, and it would be like cool to go get lunch on the water, which I did. I went to my favorite fish and chip spot. It's called Neptune's Net. It's like a biker bar, but also fish and chips house in Malibu. It's so special. It's like very north Malibu. But anyways, I sat there, I watched the surfers. Like that's what I used to do to heal myself when I was going through all these hard times. I remember I came there once on Thanksgiving and I sat there by myself and I watched the surfers and got Neptune's Net, fish and chips, and a beer back then. Or multiple. But anyways, this time I got a soda and my fish and chips, and I sat there in my car with the door open and music playing and watched the surfers. And like, yes, that was a glimmer of positivity that I had while there, but it was more just reminding me of how I used to come there when I was really sad to lift my spirits. And what I was saying was I was thinking that going back to LA was going to be this like transformative, oh my gosh, I remember all of this. I'm so glad I'm past that. Wow. Like I'm so proud of myself. It was more just like, this is making me depressed all over again and really just hurting me. My face was so puffy and swollen from crying that entire weekend. Not to mention I cried a lot at the wedding because it was like emotional. Like I gave a toast and I cried. So there was just a lot of crying going on. I cried when I met up with my ex. And even though that was a good experience, like I was crying a little bit because I was reminiscing about our relationship and like that I had a drinking problem and kind of sharing some thoughts with him about that and apologizing and thanking him for being there for me through my lowest times. So it was just an emotional trip all in all, like very emotional. And the moment I got back in Seattle, I was just like, oh my gosh, there we go. I'm me again. We're back, baby. Like I felt my motivation. I felt my confidence. I felt just my strength. But while I was there, I felt weak and broken, and it was honestly just awful. So maybe someone out there can relate to this and just know that you're not alone if you felt that way. Like I definitely felt like alone, thinking, am I the only one who cannot go back to an entire city because of the awful memories that I experienced there? But then, of course, I turned to the internet, as one does, and everyone's like, no, I'm the same way. I can't go back here. I can't go back here. I don't return to this area because of this. Like, a lot of people have this strong negative impact from locations. And that's what somebody else advised too, is like, remember that it is not the physical place, but it is all the memories that it holds. I can't really separate those two things. To me, they're all the same, but I will try. I will try to not hate LA as a city. But you know what? Then it's like the industry ruined me as well. And the modeling industry and being around people who are using you to, grow in their career. And just the transactional relationships, the lack of friends that I had, the waves of different friendships that I had. I mean, I don't know. LA is a toxic city, if you ask me. And I was in the thick of it. Like some people, if you're going to go to LA and you work in like finance, okay, cool. Or you work in tech, nice, enjoy. I was in the industry that people come to LA for, modeling, acting, whatever. And I was like trying to make it. And that environment was so toxic to me. It was awful. So maybe I do just hate the city of LA, and I think that's okay. We're all welcome to our opinions, right? LA is not for me. Never will be. Maybe you have that same feeling about Seattle. And to me, Seattle is my happy place. Maybe you have that feeling about New York or wherever in the world. So yeah, LA is not for me. And that was my experience with going back there and revisiting. Horrible. So thanks for listening. And as always, feel free to join our Facebook support group. The link is in the description. It's a great place to lean on people, ask for advice. I'm planning on doing a post in there later today to share my experience about LA and ask if anybody else has experienced something similar, because wow, it does make you feel better when you hear about somebody else who's gone through the same thing. You're like, oh my God, so it wasn't a unique experience. Like other people go through this. And that's what that Facebook group is all about. Just sharing your thoughts and experiences and realizing that you're not alone. Because look at all these people that have gone through the same things or have advice for you because they went through that in the past. Like, it's just a really special place. So it's called The Scoop Troop on Facebook, and the link to join is in the description. If you enjoyed today's episode, why not give it a little 5 stars or leave me a review if you're listening on Apple? I would really appreciate it, because I want this podcast to reach the people that it should. When I was going through my drinking problem, I wish that this sort of a podcast would have popped up for me, because it would have been really helpful and comforting. So the more reviews, the more ratings, the more likely this show is to get out to the people who need it. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for listening. I'll see you for the next episode. Bye.